Welcome to Corporals Corner. Today I'm going to show you what I use for a bird's nest, so stick around. Because of where I choose to live, it rains a good 60 to 70% of the time, and over the years I've had people ask me, what do you use for Tinder material or Tinder resources in a wet environment like this? So I thought today, why not give you a quick tip or trick and show you what I use in wet conditions. I'm going to start off here. I'm going to pan from my right to my left and show you what I'm looking at here. So I look out here and I glance out, the gigantic pine tree right there. Behind it is a cedar, and right in front of it is a cedar. Moving to our left, we got a cedar, 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 and a cedar. Now all these cedars happen to be false cedars, which means they're part of the juniper family. And like juniper trees that are found in, say, Arizona, they got this gnarly bark on there. Let me zoom in real quick and I'll show you. Now when that's dry, you can pull it off in sheets, and it's excellent for tinder. However, it's all wet today. Now, just like junipers, these branches come off these trees, and we're looking at the one in the middle back here. And I'll zoom in again. And what do you notice on that tree? You see dry spots. And that's because the branches come off, and it's sort of like an umbrella. And as the water runs down that tree, it hits that branch and goes off the branch and drips down. So there's actually quite a few dry spots on that. Now moving down the tree, you'll notice wet spots. And I'll show you the base of the tree right here. That whole backside is wet. However, you got dry pockets, and the whole entire side is dry. Now I just showed you a close-up on this bark so that we can identify it later. I want you to see how gnarly it actually is. But more importantly, if you listen, you can hear it raining right now. It's coming down pretty good. And all of this is dry. It's been raining since about midnight last night, and right now it's around 10 o'clock in the morning. And this is completely dry. Now it seems dry, and it looks dry, but there's probably moisture in it because of the damp environment. But for the most part, if I need to make this work, I can. And an added bonus of this canopy that I have right here, check this out. All these branches that are around here, they all break completely dry as well. So not only do I have tinder, I have fuel source, sticks, twigs, and branches as well. The next step is to simply remove the bark. To do that, I want to use a 90-degree spine on the back side of my knife, and today I'm using a more Garberg. So what I've done is I cut a branch almost the same size as the knife handle. And what I'm going to do, find the flattest spot, I'm going to take my knife, take the tip, I want to stick it probably about 3/4 from the center. I got my axe, I'm going to gently tap it. I don't want to split the wood. I just want the tip inside there so I can make an improvised scraping tool to remove that bark. Now basically I have two handles and my 90-degree spine right here. I'm just going to hold on to it like this, put it on the bark, and shave up and down, or go one direction, just go up or just go down. It's a slow process, but it gets the job done. Now if you don't like the two-handed method, sometimes this piece wants to wobble and come off. So all I gotta do is just take it off or don't even use it. And again, the back side of your knife, I'll put it in my right hand, use my left hand for added pressure on it. Same exact thing. You can go up and down or in one direction. Just be careful with your knife blade. The thicker the bark, the better. Created that shelf right there. All of it wants to collect. You get a nice baseball size or golf ball size, whatever you're comfortable with. Pull it off, store it inside of a container. And sometimes you get lucky and you have a crevice in the tree where the trunk actually folds in on itself right here, and you notice the bark goes in with it. So it's extra thick right here. All you gotta do is take your knife, pop it in that groove, and you pull off large chunks. And all you gotta do is process it down later on. Before I get started, I want to talk about anything in the juniper family. And it's been my experience that unless you're in Arizona, Nevada, Southern California, New Mexico, or maybe in parts of Texas where it's dry and parched 75–80% of the year, and everything is 100% bone dry, where you even think about flame and it ignites, you're going to have a problem with it, especially out here. Because even though this appears dry, and it does, you can see how light and fluffy this actually is, it appears dry. And for the most part, everything in this bag is nice and fluffy. But you got moisture all in the air, and that tends to collect inside this. So using the ferro rod, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and strike this and get it to flame up. But what tends to happen with this in this area is that it will flame up, smoke and smolder and go out. Blow back into it, flame up, smoke and smolder and go out. So I want to show you that. I want to demonstrate what happens with that. And it might take 2 or 3 or 4 times to get this to actually ignite using the ferro rod. Let's go ahead and try it. I see it taking and it burns right back out. I'll go ahead and manipulate this a little bit. I'm going to place the rod inside of it and scrape it back and forth. Go ahead and turn it over. You already noticed that it wants to burn, but what's it doing? It's actually going out. Now when I spread it apart and add oxygen to it, it goes back up, kind of like a flash tinder. But ultimately, I can do that and it's gone. So in my opinion, out here, that's not a realistic example to use as far as trying to light a fire out here. Now, with that said, it's not realistic when it stands alone. But I want to show you what I do out here. I'm going to add a secret ingredient to beef this up and guarantee flame. Now out here in the Pacific Northwest, we have an abundance of pine trees. So wherever you have pine trees, you're going to have the remnants of pine trees. Just right here in front of us, we have the remnant of what used to be a pine tree. It's a tombstone, if you will, of what once was. I mentioned that they were remnants of pine trees, of what once was. And basically it's a tombstone telling you, here lies a pine tree. Now, like all pine trees, they have the turpentine smelling fatwood, where all the resin runs down the tree and collects at the lowest spot. For here, it's the tombstone. And what tends to happen is they rot out. And all you got to do is give it a good kick or wiggle it back and forth and break it free. That nice dark orange color right there tells me, along with the smell, that's solid fatwood. Oh yeah. And this right here is the fatwood. This is what remains of that tombstone looking stump that was there. If you notice, it starts off light and it gets dark orange down here. Everything rolls downhill, everything drains to the lowest spot. So this is fatwood. This is where all the resin, everything collected towards the base. You have a strong turpentine smell, and there's white sap on here also. This right here is nature's gasoline. And this is our secret ingredient or additive to our bird's nest or Tinder bundles. I've shown this before several times. So just like when I process my tinder, when I scrape the bark off the tree, I'm using the same 90-degree spine. And on here, I'm going to use the darkest orange fatwood that I can find. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to scrape it. Just like that. Get small shavings and build it up to the size of either a golf ball, or in this case, because it's wet and damp, I want a baseball size of this stuff. The fatwood's processed, and we have our second bird's nest. And I told you before I have my secret ingredient, and that's fatwood. So what I normally do is anywhere between 10% to 30%, and sometimes if it's pouring rain and this is actually kind of wet, I'll do a 50% mix. So all I'm going to do is just transfer some of this in here. And you can smell that turpentine starting to stick to the bird's nest itself. And there's no real trick or magic. Actually, all we're doing is igniting the fatwood. And then let the oxygen and nature do its thing. There's no point to even blow on this. And you can already see the difference. Now I'm quite confident I can transfer this to a fire lay and be good to go. Welcome back, that was good to go. Hope this helps clarify and answer any questions as far as what I use for tinder material or tinder resources in a wet, damp environment like this, the Pacific Northwest. Now, this same idea or theory can be applied anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world. And for me, anything I can do to increase my chances of survival or success, like utilizing all the resources I have available to me, or seizing every opportunity that presents itself, I'm going to do it. And that goes for everything I do in my life. So back to the Tinder bundles and the bird's nest. Far too often I see on YouTube and other people I come in contact with, they want to utilize one resource. Where I'm from in California, where I used to live, cottonwoods are everywhere. Let's use cottonwoods, okay? Or aspens, or tuba poplar, or just junipers. All of those work. And every environment has similar materials or properties, but if one thing or one variable pops up, now everything goes out the window. So why not have multiple baskets with eggs in them, like we did today? Added fatwood shavings to my juniper or false cedar bark, and you saw what happened. Boom, first time. And that's what I do out here. So thinking outside the box, find out what works in your area, manipulate it, make your own recipe, and you should be good to go. Thank you for your comments, views, support. Thanks for watching. Get out in the woods, have some fun. I'll catch you next time.